Hello, bullpups. What'd you think of those storms last night? They were a bit scary. The clouds were pretty amazing, though, and got me to thinking about this story that I usually read every year and haven't had a chance to do it yet, so I wanted to share this story with you today. The title is The Dog Who Belonged to No One. Our author is Amy Hest, and it's illustrated by Amy Bates. Once there was a small dog with crooked ears. He belonged to no one. And once there was a wisp of a girl named Leah. The dog who belonged to no one was a perfectly nice fellow with a perfectly nice temperament. He was not a loud barker, nor was he a biter, jumper, fussy eater, or grumbler. Leah lived with her mother, a baker, and her father, a baker, in a crooked little house on the edge of town. It always smelled wonderful there, like bread in the oven, and cake. The porch had a soft nightlight. Now, if we think about the setting of the story, do you think it took place like recent times, or do you think it took place a long time ago? We'll talk about it at the end, and hopefully you can cite why you think that it was either recent or long ago. And where do you think this story takes place? The dog who belonged to no one tried hard to be helpful every day. When the baseballs of summer sailed into the woods, he found the baseballs. When the air turned cold and mittens went missing, he found the mittens. Not that anyone took notice of a small dog with crooked ears. Every Sunday, the busiest day for bakers, Leah saddled up her bike with fine breads and gorgeous cakes to deliver to town. The dog who belonged to no one spent his days quite alone, exploring the narrow streets and wide boulevards of town after town. All through the changing seasons, he longed for a friend. How's our little puppy feeling? There were many high hills, and Leah pedaled very hard. Her legs grew tired. To make herself feel less alone, she thought up stories as she pedaled. The stories were like friends on her long ride to town. How do you think Leah's feeling? It sounds like her and the puppy might have something in common. As day turned slowly to night, the dog who belonged to no one tried to outrun the night. Run, run, run. But a small dog could not outrun the night. As the dark grew darker, he trembled. He shook. To make himself less lonely, he pictured a yard and a porch with a soft light. He pictured a cozy corner where he could tuck himself inside himself and dream of belonging to someone. And as day turned slowly to night, Leah pedaled all the way home, pedal, 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 to the crooked little house, where she climbed into bed and tucked herself inside herself and dreamed. One Sunday morning, a storm whipped into town, a great big Sunday soaker. The dog who belonged to no one tried to outrun the storm. Run, run, run! At that very moment, on that very Sunday, a wisp of a girl was racing home. Pedal, pedal, pedal! But the small dog could not outrun the storm. How wet he was, soaked to the bone. Leah was soaked right to the bone. He shook, he shivered, he dripped. When the wind blew, his crooked ears blew. And in this picture, I went ahead and circled where the dog was. You can see the yellow circle, and right there's the little dog running, trying to get away from the storm. And in this picture, there's Leah, and I have the yellow circle around her so you can see her. She shook, she shivered, she dripped. When the wind blew, her hair blew too. And then I wanted to show a picture of both pages together so you could see the dog and the little girl and kind of stop and make a prediction here. What do you think is going to happen? They're both trying to outrun this storm. Let's see. The dog who belonged to no one ran and ran to the edge of town and onto the porch of the crooked little house. Leah pedaled and pedaled to the edge of town, right to the porch where her parents were waiting. And a small dog was waiting, and the soft light was on. Inside there was bread in the oven and cake, and the towels were warm. In time, the dog who belonged to no one stopped shivering. Leah stopped too. They both had cake. Afterward, he tucked himself inside himself on Leah's chair. As day turned to night, he dreamed, and in his dream, he had a friend. When he woke up, Leah was there. "Hello," she said, and she stayed right there, telling him a story about a wisp of a girl and a small dog with crooked ears. And they belonged to each other all through the changing seasons. And that's the end. I hope you enjoyed this story. It's pretty heartwarming. And if you stop and think about how the characters felt at the beginning of the story versus how they felt at the end of the story, I definitely see some changes there. Now let's go back and talk about the setting real quick before I let you guys go. Where did the story take place? You said in a little town? At her house? You were exactly right. When did the story take place? Would you say it was recent time or long ago? You should be able to tell by the clothing and just the way the buildings looked that this story took place a long time ago. And it, as we could see, it probably was more the beginning of it at the fall, and it's kind of went through the seasons as I've read. So I hope you have a good rest of the day, and I will read again in a day or two. Take care.